Hi guys! Today, I'm going to recap a romantic comedy movie called Set It Up. This movie is about two overworked and underpaid assistants, who come up with a plan to get their bosses off their backs by setting them up with each other. So, will their plan be successful? Let's find out. Harper is a 25-year-old girl who finds herself in an odd phase in life. She works for Kirsten Steven as an assistant. She actually has a dream to be a sports writer but is frustrated by her stunted ambition, and the lack of breathing room from her demanding job. And also, her hectic schedule has also prevented her from getting a date in years. One day, Harper works overnight with her boss at the office. Harper is tasked to order dinner for her boss while also exercising using Kirsten's watch to track enough steps for the day. On the other side, there is Charlie, who works as an assistant for his boss, Rick. He has his eyes on a promotion that he believes is just around the corner. But unfortunately, the job is tough as Rick is someone who has seemingly, on a weekly basis, throws a temper tantrum at the office and is dealing with a divorce. On the same night, while Charlie waits for his boss, he tries to call his girlfriend, Suze, but soon his boss walks out and he has to hang up the phone. He is about to say goodbye to Rick, but Rick tells him to go back to the office with him. Meanwhile, Harper has finished the workout and returns Kirsten's watch. While she is telling Kirsten about her schedule, she is cut by a phone call from the delivery guy. On the other floor, Charlie and Rick arrive and are busy recalling Rick's schedule. In the middle of it, Rick gets furious at Charlie when he hears about his divorce from Kiki. Suddenly he asks Charlie to get his dinner ready, so Charlie rushes to get something for him. When he arrives at the first floor, he sees Harper and a delivery man. He overhears that Harper could not get the food as she forgets to bring any cash. Charlie swoops in and pays the delivery man with cash, stealing Harper's food. Charlie is also about to leave when Harper tries to stop him and tells him that she needs the food for her boss. She tells him that there are 2 dinners in the bag and they should split the dinner so both of their bosses will be satisfied. Charlie hardly wants to accede to Harper's idea but reluctantly agrees. However, she also must pay for the food later. They finally could give the dinner to their boss even though Kirsten does not care about the dinner anymore at the end. At least Harper can finally go home. When at home, her friend Becca and her boyfriend come in and get into the room when suddenly Harper hears a scream. She rushes to the room and sees that her friend has been proposed to. She feels happy but also sad at the same time as she hardly ever gets to date with somebody. Meanwhile, Charlie rushes to Sue's place but she refuses to meet and tells him to go home as she needs enough sleep. Charlie then goes home feeling disappointed and complains to his roommate, who reassures him. In the morning, Charlie receives a text containing a sexy picture from Suze, then asks the intern to cover for his job. Right when he calls Suze, he hears Rick screaming. He rushes to Rick's office and sees that he is throwing a tantrum. Charlie sees a box of documents and one of them is an invitation paper from Rick's ex-wife, Kiki. Rick then fires the intern and now Charlie has to do everything on his own. Later at night, Harper goes down to Charlie's office and gives him the money. Charlie asks the reason why she is still at the office so late and she tells him that she can't leave until Kirsten leaves. He does not know Kirsten and Harper starts to tell him about her job and her reputation. As they converse, they sit on Charlie's desk and he pours a drink. Harper gets tipsy and opens up about her work life and tells about Kirsten. Charlie laughs and says Kirsten needs to be laid and this gives Harper an idea. She tells Charlie that their bosses should get romantic moments together and they should make them a couple so they would have more free time and even promotions. Charlie thinks that she is drunk and tells her to leave. The next day, Harper appears at Charlie's desk with a laptop showing a spreadsheet about Kirsten. Charlie is confused as Harper continues to present about it, telling him it will help them set up their bosses together. She is sure they know everything about their bosses and they could control them. Charlie disagrees as he won't take any risk to get fired by Rick. Harper still tries to change his mind but Charlie leaves her for lunch with Suze. But instead of having lunch, Charlie goes to a school's event to save a seat for Rick to watch his sons play. Suze arrives and feels disappointed, again. She tells him that she is also busy with her job and she wants a man who is successful. Charlie begs her not to leave and says he will be promoted soon. Shortly after, Rick walks in and they all sit down. Instead of being grateful, Rick complains to Charlie about the seat. Charlie feels like he has had enough and then tells Harper that he will join Harper with the plan. They get into their plan as they want it to be as natural as possible. They think about the most suitable and proper scenarios and decide with Harper's idea. She mentions them being stuck in an elevator. Charlie then asks Creepy Tim to help them to control the elevator and he agrees. They can see their bosses getting into the elevator on a screen one by one, but then followed by a truck driver who also enters the same elevator. They ask Tim to get the man out, but he has another idea. He wants them stuck together and stops the elevator. Charlie and Harper ask him to make it work again. It works, but it suddenly stops again. This time, the elevator is actually broken. The truck driver starts panicking and takes his clothes off. Rick and Kirsten tell him to stop, but he ignores them. They argue about what to do and suddenly the truck driver opens a box and he pees in the box. The elevator then starts working right after. After a huge failure on their plan, Charlie thinks that they would hate each other now. But Harper reassures him and plans something else. The next day, Harper tells Kirsten that Rick has asked for her number, but not to worry about it because she did not give it. Charlie also does the same trick to Rick. Charlie then asks Harper about the next step and she asks him to buy Rick a ticket to a baseball game. Harper gives a seat number to her friend who works there and tells him to make sure that those seat numbers are shown on the kiss cam. Afterwards, the assistants sit on the opposite side to their boss's seat so they will be able to see them from afar. They see Kirsten come and then they converse with each other. Shortly after, a kiss cam starts and takes them on cam. Even though they don't kiss the first time and also the second, they finally kiss on the third. As their mission is completed, Harper and Charlie are so happy and they go home with a smile. Harper can finally get a bit of rest and Charlie can attend a party with Suze. Harper rushes to the office like usual in the morning only to find out that Kirsten is nowhere to be found at her office. She then gets a call from Charlie, telling her that Rick isn't at the office as well. But at the moment, Rick comes and asks Charlie politely for a coffee. Charlie is surprised and he takes Rick's order with pleasure. Kirsten comes and asks Harper to come to her office, then she starts venting about a man and Harper pretends she knows nothing. Harper then goes to Charlie and tells him that she leaves early and vice versa, so they hurry up to leave as they have their own agenda. Harper tells him she will have a date that night. Meanwhile, Charlie goes home and prepares dinner for Suze. His roommate then comes and tells him they don't suit together. He asks Charlie if they ever had a deep conversation in their relationship, but Charlie does not care about it. Meanwhile, Harper is having a date with a guy and seems to be having fun. Over the next few days, the pair of assistants continue helping the wannabe couple by setting up a romantic gesture such as flowers and an expensive bottle of liquor. Day after day, their bosses start turning nice to them. Life is not only great for the bosses, but for the assistant as well. They get more free time with their loved ones. Later, Harper receives Becca's wedding invitation and tells Charlie that she must not go to work that weekend, and so does Charlie, who also has to attend a party with Suze. The next plan is to get Rick to invite Kirsten to a romantic getaway, somewhere far away, meaning they will be free from their bosses. However, their bosses suddenly return, angry from their last date. Charlie and Harper need to fix the situation as soon as possible in order to get their free weekend. At night, Harper says goodbye to Charlie, who is working on Rick's son's science project, which was ruined by his father's tantrum earlier. Harper wants to leave, but then stops and goes back to Charlie. They make a new project with Harper's idea. As they make it, they open up to each other. Charlie talks about his reasons why he does all the hard work. Harper also talks about her dream to be a writer. As time goes by, the project is finished and Charlie can present it to Rick by tomorrow morning. After Charlie succeeds in helping Rick's son's project, Rick shows up drunk at night at the office. Rick says Charlie is a good guy and he appreciates him. Rick then opens up and asks advice as to what to do with Kirsten. Charlie tells him that he should say that he sees her and appreciates her. So the next morning, Rick comes to Kirsten's office and follows Charlie's advice. They go back to being a lovely couple right after, and they will go on their romantic getaway. On the weekend, Harper goes to Charlie's apartment and meets his roommate. He manages to convince her to come to the party with him. At the party, Harper is anxious because her previous date hasn't responded to her, and Charlie tells her to forget about him. Afterwards, seeing Suze flirting with other guys, he then tells Harper he will be her +1 on Becca's engagement party. At night, they arrive at the party and congratulate the new fiancés. They dance together and feel like they have a spark between them. Harper gets drunk and is craving for pizza, then tells Becca she will leave early for it. Becca tells her to leave as she knows her best friend will spend more time with Charlie. Then they go to Charlie's apartment to have their pizzas using the fire stairs as the living room is occupied by his roommate. They sit down in Charlie's room to eat pizza and spend more time together. Shortly after, Harper returns home. The next morning, Charlie and Harper get into an awkward situation between them. Kirsten then asks both of them to get into her office, and then there is also Rick. They pretend like they don't know each other and are introduced by their bosses. Afterwards, Rick and Kirsten announce their plan to get married next weekend and want their assistants to work on it. And then Rick says Charlie gets promoted. Kirsten then says to Harper that she has been rude to her, so she will have tough skin and be prepared for the real world. Rick, on the other hand, tells Charlie to send an invitation to his ex-wife and wants to spend one last night with her. Charlie worries about the wedding but could not tell Harper as he is afraid he will ruin everything. The next day, Charlie goes to buy a diamond ring and he asks for Harper's help. He also mentions getting Rick's credit card on his desk. She then agrees to help, but when she picks it up, she overhears Rick's conversation with his ex-wife. She is sure it's not Kirsten because she knows Kirsten is in the meeting at the moment. When she finds out the truth, she rushes to Charlie and tells him about the situation. But Charlie seems to be anxious, and that's how Harper realized that he had known about their affair. Charlie justifies that Rick is just confused, but Harper disagrees with him. Harper thinks Charlie is a bad person because he let someone's life be ruined by his own ambition. On the other hand, Charlie also thinks that Harper just wants to save her position and always makes excuses not to write. After their debate, Harper gets disappointed and says she will tell Kirsten, then she leaves in tears. She rushes to meet Kirsten at one of Kirsten's friends' baby showers, and there she goes telling Kirsten the whole truth. Kirsten is dumbfounded and fires Harper immediately. Days later, while Charlie seems to be enjoying his promotion, Harper is going through a difficult situation where she has to write an article as a writer. Becca finds Harper in a messy situation and helps Harper to get up and finish the article, and it doesn't matter whatever the result is. So then Harper gets up and tries her best to finish it in one day. Charlie meets Suze at night. He takes her to a romantic dinner. But then he realizes that is not the life he wanted, and so he breaks up with Suze and rushes to the airport, where Rick and Kirsten are at. He calls Harper to tell her he will stop the wedding. Later, he arrives at the airport and calls out for Rick. He tells him how he felt and that he will quit the job. Also, he tells Kirsten not to marry Rick as he knows her from Harper and he thinks Kirsten deserves better. Kirsten rethinks her choice, then asks one small thing to Rick about her, and Rick calls her Kiki instead of Kirsten. Kirsten then calls off the wedding saying she is done with Rick. The other day, Harper goes to the office and meets Kirsten. Kirsten asks her to come back to work, but Harper politely refuses, saying she admires her but she needs to be a writer on her own. Kirsten asks about the article she has been writing and wants to look into it. Harper is about to leave the building when she sees Charlie. She asks him why he is here and he says Kirsten had called him. Then both of them realize that Kirsten had set them up so they would see each other. Charlie then says he knows now what he wants to do and he tells Harper that he likes her. And Harper insults him with the opposite meaning, and he just knows the meaning behind her smile, making Charlie smile and kiss her. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.